morning, everybody. This is Vasilis Girasis for ntmarkets.com. We have four graphs we want to have a look at this morning. I'm going to start with Anglo American. This is Anglo American PLC. As we can see on the graph here, Anglo American coming down to retest an upward trend line dating back to about August, September last year. I think for the day traders out there, one can look to go long at around about 250 or just below 250 with an initial target price of about 260 Rand or so. Look for a break below 245. If it breaks and holds below that level, I would probably go short and probably would not touch the share. But the South African Rand has weakened significantly recently, and being a Rand hedge, we should see the weaker Rand support our mining stocks, our resource counters, and so we feel that Anglo American should have a fairly good chance of bouncing from the 250 Rand mark. Next graph I want to look at is Assore. Assore has taken quite a knock off its highs of about 450 Rand. We did see it selling off quite significantly right down to its 200-day moving average. We do see the graph forming a bit of a double bottom. It bounced off the 200-day but then came back down to retest it and seems to be climbing again. We've got three little rising bottoms there. Unfortunately for the day traders, not a very liquid stock. A lot of algos in the stock trading very small volumes at a time, so not maybe ideal for your intraday traders, but in terms of your longer term investors, one can certainly look to try and pick this one up between 340 and 350 Rand with a target price of about 390. A break and hold above 390 or 395 should see this graph going back to retest its highs of 450 Rand. MTN is one that we discussed in a previous webcast. We highlighted that it was trading in quite a range. One could buy it at about 175 and sell it at about 181. Last week we did have the portfolios being reweighted, and as such I believe there was an institution that had to sell quite a large number of MTNs, therefore knocking it down below the trading range as we can see on the graph. But then of course it did bounce back quite nicely, so it has formed a failed breakdown on the graph. MTN also last day to trade tomorrow for its dividend. It's paying a 4.27 dividend. That's 4.27 net of its dividend withholding tax. So I expect some buying to come in today and tomorrow on MTN. Another stock in the telecom sector is Vodacom. Vodacom is also one we're keeping an eye on. This one was also fairly range bound between 115 and 120. They did sell it down to its 200-day moving average as well. RSI is looking oversold and turning back up towards the upside. We would look to trade this one, buy at 110 Rand, go long with a target price of about 120. Of course, all these graphs and technicals are looking interesting, but we've got to keep an eye on the bigger picture, and that is the banking crisis in Cyprus at the moment. Cyprus on the brink of basically setting a precedent in terms of how they handle bailouts and this proposed haircut. Of course, the fear is how this is going to affect future bailouts in the European banking sector. So like I said, this whole new precedent, a bit of shock in the markets at the moment. We've got to see how this is going to play out. So make sure that these trades, you do trade them with very tight stop losses until we see how this whole scenario unfolds. That's where the focus is going to be over the next couple of days. This is Vasilis Girasis for ntmarkets.com.